Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope you're having a very good morning wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. As always, thank you very much for being here and joining me. I really do appreciate it on a Sunday morning where we're waking up, looking at the back pages of the papers, looking online, looking at the league table, and there Arsenal are right at the top of the table. It's a nice feeling. I know it's early on in the season. It is very early. It's too early to get excited. It's too early to read too much into what is going on in the world of the Premier League. But it is still nice to wake up and see Arsenal top of the table after that 2-0 win yesterday against West Ham. Liverpool then losing, of course, at Stamford Bridge in fairly dramatic circumstances as well. And that means that Arsenal have leapt above the champions into top spot as we head into, unfortunately, the second international break of the season. So we're going to talk about the win against West Ham in today's show. Obviously, I did my sort of immediate reaction and ratings video from the press box yesterday at the Emirates. We're going to look into things far more in depth today, go over the big talking points from the day, the win, the Martin Odegaard injury, Bukayo Saka making it to 100 goal involvements in the Premier League for Arsenal. Look at what you guys have been having to say. I'll go over my player ratings again. So there's loads and loads and loads for us to get stuck into after what was a very, very dominant routine victory in the Premier League. Now, I'll have a look at the stats in a minute, but this was the type of game that Mikel Arteta will absolutely love. When he talks about, dominating an opponent, dominating a game, then you don't get more dominant, really, than this one. West Ham, look, let's face it, were terrible. Not good. But Arsenal just swamped them, absolutely swarmed them, and won without having to get out of second gear. Declan Rice scoring the first goal in the first half, and Bukayo Saka adding the second from the penalty spot after the break. It would have been nice to score more goals. Again, you look at an end of a game and you just think, Arsenal need to be a bit more clinical in some of these situations. They had the chances to win this game very, very comfortably yesterday. They didn't take them. So in the end, it was just another 2-0 win. But again, it's a decent, comfortable win. Brilliant for Declan Rice to score against West Ham again as well. And I do, if you watch on YouTube, you can see that picture of him, just a little glance over to the West Ham fans. He did it about 3 or 4 times as he was running back around the goal in the direction of the Ashburton army. He was just looking over his shoulder, just making sure the West Ham fans could see he was doing it. He had taken quite a bit of stick just a few minutes before when he'd gone over there to take a free kick and then to take a corner. And he silenced them in the best way, of course, just as he did at London Stadium a couple of seasons ago. So look, it was a really good first half performance from Arsenal. They were on top. I mean, the team selection was very, very interesting. There's me sitting there at the sort of yesterday morning for my preview show. And I remember some people sending questions going, do you think we might see Rice as a 6 and Ezra and Odegaard ahead of him as an 8? There's me going, no, Mikel, that's not something that Mikel Arteta is going to do. Maybe he'll do that in match, but I can't see him doing that from the start. And then lo and behold, he goes and does it from the start. He certainly caught me by surprise. So it was an interesting team selection. I have to admit, I was a little bit worried by it. It's exciting. Obviously on paper, it's exciting to look at. But I just did have that little doubt in my mind when I saw the selection and the setup. Is there going to be a few holes there? This is going to be probably a tough afternoon for Declan Rice on his own in midfield here. Can you really do this in a Premier League game? It looks nice on paper, but realistically, what's it going to look like? How's the balance of the team going to look? Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it for very long, so we don't really know. I do think Arsenal looked better, though. I have to say, when Zubimendi came on, just looked like a more balanced team. But obviously, the injury to Martin Odegaard was just a real shame, and we'll talk about it in a minute. It happened right in front of me, It was just a clash of knees. It's the sort of thing you see all the time, and you saw him go down. You're expecting him to get up, but just the way that Martin Odegaard's season's going at the moment, obviously didn't. So that was a shame. And that forced Arsenal into the early change. Zubimendi came on. He went back into that sort of number 6 role, and Declan Rice pushed up alongside Eze in the sort of more custom advanced role that we're used to seeing Declan Rice playing in. And I do think Arsenal looked more balanced for that. Zubimendi came on, obviously was just a class act. He made a real difference, and Arsenal scored fairly soon. I think it was after. I think Declan Rice scored after that injury had happened. I'm doubting myself now. I think it happened after. I'll have to have a check. But the goal went in. Obviously, it was a really nice play. Yeah, of course it was, because it was Zubimendi who set up the chance for the goal. It was his ball to Eze in the penalty area, sort of slide rule that broke the lines, and Eze had the shot that was saved, and there was Declan Rice to finish. It was quite a nice finish, actually, for Declan Rice. You saw Eze just a few minutes before had a very similar opportunity, and he put it over. He leapt back. He didn't get over the ball. But Declan Rice did that, and it was a good finish because he easily could have skied it. And that was 1-0. There was other chances during the half. Obviously, I mentioned the Eze one that he put over for Ricardo Calafiori. Hit the post. Trossard had an opportunity that was blocked as well. So it was only 1-0 at half time. You just wanted Arsenal to go on and kill it in the second half. Again, there were opportunities that weren't taken. Eventually, they got the penalty. Another really nice little ball from Zubimendi to release Timber. It's one of those ones when I looked at the replay, I was like, oh, is he outside the area there? The ref obviously gave it on field. And I'm not sure. I don't quite know the rules, I have to admit now, because you hear them when they talk about it of, the initial contact's outside, but it carried on into the penalty area, and it did. But when I first saw that, I thought, oh, he's outside. That's not going to be a penalty. But the referee and VAR gave it. They said it was a spot kick. And Bukayo Saka scored it. 100 Premier League goals. Well, 100 Premier League contributions for Bukayo Saka. Again, we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. 2-0, game, set and match. No coming back for West Ham after that point. Again, there was some other opportunities that maybe Arsenal could have done better with to kill the game off. But in the end, it was just a 2-0. And as I said, it was a really dominant performance. When you look at these stats here, if you watch on YouTube, you can see the stats I brought up. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to Mikel Arteta, a sort of game that Mikel Arteta would love. Was it like an absolute thriller? No, it wasn't. When it's this one-sided, it becomes almost like a training game. But for Arteta, he loves that. He just completely shuts the other team out, basically gives them nothing. I mean, they had an XG there of 0.49, and I would imagine that most of that comes from those two set pieces that they had, one in the first 30 seconds pretty much, and then one in about the 92nd minute, which sort of Raya got caught underneath both of them, and the headers, I think first one was from Fulcrook, I'm not sure he did the second one, just went over the bar. But other than that, I think they had 7 touches in Arsenal's penalty area in the 90 minutes. It was that dominant for Arsenal. An XG of just a shade under 3 for Arsenal. They're 21 shots to 4, 70% possession pretty much. It was just absolute domination of the highest order, and a very, very comfortable win. Speaking about the game afterwards, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say. He said the last 2 games have been very special. Newcastle, because we had a lot of history there, a lot of scars, a lot of learnings to take that we had to put right. Then we had West Ham losing 2 games at home in the previous 2 seasons. I told them it was a big opportunity. We've had very difficult fixtures since the start of the season, some bad injuries as well that are not helping. Still, the team is performing, playing well, winning today with absolute dominance without conceding a goal. So good to get the international break in this right spirit. And it is a nice way to go into the international break. Sitting top of the table. I said it was such an important game, I thought, yesterday, especially with the context behind it of what West Ham had done at the Emirates in the previous 2 seasons. And on the back of the win against Newcastle, where you just knew that Arsenal, it was so important that they maintained the momentum that they got from that Newcastle win and the way they did it. It would have been awful to then sort of let all that slip, drop points at home to West Ham, and go into that international break on a downer. But they haven't. They've built on that momentum. They've got another solid, dominant win, and now they're heading into the international break, sitting top of the table. I do think that is really, really important. Right, before we get on to Bukayo Saka, just on Martin Odegaard, obviously, I said this happened right in front of me, and I just feel so sorry for Martin Odegaard at the moment. I mean, he set a very, very unwanted Premier League record yesterday. He became the first player ever in Premier League history to be substituted before half-time in 3 consecutive starts. Obviously, all 3 of those are forced because of injury. The game against Leeds, shoulder injury. Nottingham Forest, shoulder injury. And then yesterday with a knee injury. Right in front of me, it was. And you saw it. It was just a clash of knees. And you were expecting him to get up. It was just going to be some sort of impact injury. But you could see fairly quickly he was in a lot of pain. You could see the frustration in his face. Again, like the previous 2 examples, he got patched up. He came back on. He gave it a go for about 5 or 10 minutes. But then the signal went up and Martin Zubimendi came on. Mikel afterwards said he had a clash knee to knee. Immediately he was uncomfortable. I've just spoken to him. He's not positive about it. He's got a brace on. We'll have to wait and see from the doctors. But we haven't been very lucky with that either. I'm just going to shut my phone down because my WhatsApps are constantly going off, and I don't want to be making a noise and be distracting. And on Odegaard's bad luck with injuries this season, he says, we haven't had him since the start of the season for one reason or the other. The shoulder twice and then this injury. So we have to wait and see the extent of it. We'll find solutions. But obviously our captain is a player who gives us a completely different dimension with the things that he can do, especially in attack. Let's wait and see. And hopefully it's not too bad. Now, obviously the fact he's in a knee brace, it sounds scary. It's not a good thing to learn. But with an injury like this, when there's any sort of doubt, it's just like, it's sort of safety first. It's like, right, let's put him in a brace. Let's protect that injury. Hopefully that doesn't necessarily mean it's terrible. If you see it sometimes when people hurt their ankles, immediately they put their sort of that ankle support brace type thing on. And everyone's like, oh my God, he's really done his ankle. He's really hurt. So it's not necessarily always the case. So hopefully this is just kind of precaution. He will have a scan today or tomorrow, depending on if there's a load of swelling. If there's loads of swelling, they'll leave it a day or two to let that swelling go down, and then he'll have a scan. But there'll definitely be a scan, and we'll wait and see. For Odegaard, you just hope it's nothing bad. He's just had no luck this season, and it is just freak luck, these ones that he's having, the two shoulders and then this, just a complete clash of knees. You just think surely someone can't be that unlucky. They just can't be that unlucky. So we just got to sit with our fingers crossed that he's okay. The fact it's coming off the back of his best performance in Arsenal shirt for a long, long time in midweek in the Champions League as well. And Arsenal need Martin Odegaard. They do. Obviously, they've got a really strong squad now. And like yesterday was a prime example of that. Odegaard goes off. You can just bring Zubimendi on. You can switch shape. The new shape that Arsenal played with yesterday, pretty much straight away, it led to a goal because it was Zubimendi from deep, laying it to Eze, who'd moved into the sort of right-sided 8 position. His shot was saved, and Declan Rice, who has moved further upfield, was there to tap it in. So, that worked, and it shows the strength and depth Arsenal have got. But as Arteta said there, the captain, Odegaard, he's so important to this Arsenal team, and just fingers crossed he can be all right. So that was obviously the one big negative of the game. But soon after, Chelsea winning against Liverpool, another late defeat for Liverpool. That's 2 now. It looks like they've used up their late winner luck that they had at the start of the season, if you want to call it luck, obviously. But yeah, suddenly now it's come back and bitten them a bit in the last 2 games, losing against Crystal Palace in the 97th minute. I think it was 96th minute yesterday. Fair play to Chelsea, by the way. I thought Chelsea played very, very well in that sort of last 20 minutes. I was watching it on my phone on the way back from the game. And given the issues they'd had defensively and what they had to do, and the fact that Liverpool had equalised, you kind of thought Liverpool were going to go on and win that game. But it was Chelsea who finished it by far the stronger. And ultimately, they deserved to win that game, I thought, at the end. So fair play to them for that. And that means Arsenal are top. Crystal Palace got to play today. They can go above Liverpool into second if Palace win today, but they can't catch Arsenal. So Arsenal's sitting top of the table at the moment. And that's just a nice place to be. When you look at the goal difference as well, look at that, the goal difference, 11. 7 ahead of Liverpool. When you think that Arsenal have gone in this period of first 7 games of the season, they've gone to Anfield, they've gone to St James's Park, they've gone to Old Trafford, they've played Manchester City. I tell you, I'm sorry, for them to be top of the table at this point and with a goal difference that superior to their rivals, and I'm not including Spurs because they're not our rivals, but that superior to their main rivals, it's massively, massively impressive, especially when you factor in the injuries that they've had to deal with so far this season. Have they played at their sparkling best? I don't think they have. Is that a negative? No, I think that's a positive because there's still room for improvement. And yet Arsenal are sitting top of the table despite having a horrendously difficult start to the season, injuries-wise, fixtures-wise, and everything. I think they deserve a huge amount of credit for what they've done so far this season. I think it's been a really, really impressive start to the campaign. Congratulations, Bukayo Saka. Now, I saw people criticising Bukayo Saka yesterday for not letting Victor Gyökeres take the penalty. I just do not get that at all. I don't get it. Bukayo Saka's clearly, he's the man, Bukayo Saka at Arsenal. He's been on penalties for a long, long time. He's only missed a couple. I don't get why he would just hand them over to Victor Gyökeres. If he'd missed loads, then fine. You've got this new sort of striker who comes in who's a very good penalty taker, then fine. But he's got an excellent penalty record. So why would you hand them over? It's like, can you imagine Thierry Henry when he was at Arsenal? Someone signing for Arsenal and Thierry Henry going, okay, you have penalties if we get them. Of course he's not going to do that. Why would someone like Henry, imagine Cristiano Ronaldo doing that to someone? So why would Bukayo Saka? I don't understand the argument. I have to admit, I thought Gyökeres might be Arsenal's new penalty taker. I thought Mikel Arteta might have decided that Victor's going to take Arsenal's penalties. Clearly, he hasn't. And so, if that's not been the case, if there's been no signal to from the manager as to who the penalty taker should be, I don't see at all why Bukayo Saka should just be handing a penalty to Victor Gyökeres, especially at only 1-0 in a really crucial game as well. I think it was just a clear example of Bukayo Saka still being like, well, I'm the guy. I am, this is my team. I'm Bukayo Saka. Fair play to him for taking the penalty. And it did get him up to 100. Mikel afterwards said, when you look at those numbers, 200 games, 100 goal involvements, it's unbelievable. His age, what he's doing, the manner he's doing it, it's really impressive. That's the kind of players we need to achieve what we want. So only 8 players in Arsenal history have reached 100 goal involvements in the Premier League, the likes of Henry, Bergkamp, Van Persie, Ian Wright, obviously, Theo. I think there's a couple more. Seska's the only player who's done it quicker or at a younger age than Bukayo Saka did. But when you think Bukayo Saka played an awful lot of his first 200 games at left back or in a sort of more defensive role, it's even more mightily impressive. And fair play to him, the man that he's turned into, the player that he's turned into. I've spoken many a times about that first goal he scored away at Frankfurt and how a group of us went down and interviewed him after the game there. And he was a 17-year-old kid at that point. And Arsenal were very protective of him. And they were like, just be careful. This is a 17-year-old kid. He's coming out and you're all going to be, a big group of journalists standing around him. He's probably going to be nervous. So just go easy on him. And he just strode out with in the most confident fashion and just spoke to us so confidently, despite this big huddle of journalists around him. And I just remember at that point just thinking, you know what, this kid has got something. He is different. And look what he's got on to achieve and continues to achieve. And hopefully the best is still to come from Bukayo Saka, hopefully. And he ends up getting the trophies and everything that he absolutely deserves to get at this football club. So congratulations, Bukayo. Century man, 100 goal involvements. Here is to many more. Right, player ratings wise, I don't think I did too many changes. I've tweaked it. I've tweaked Zubimendi up to an 8 rather than a 7. In the graphic you're looking at here, I just put Zubimendi in from the start because there was no point just putting Odegaard there because I didn't give him a mark because he wasn't on the pitch for very long. So I've just brought Zubimendi into the starting 11 basically here. Yesterday I gave him a 7, but the more I thought about it when I went home, the more I looked into his performance when I went home as well, sort of numbers-wise and stats-wise, I think he's definitely an 8. And he was involved in both goals. Just a class act, Martin Zubimendi. When you come on like that in halfway through your first half and you just immediately hit the ground running and make a big difference like he did, it's just a wonderful, wonderful player. So David Raya gave a 6. Basically could have had his deck chair out and sat there reading a magazine with a drink. It was just basically non-existent. So I gave him a 6. Timber and Calafiori, the 2 fullbacks, I thought were excellent. Again, gave them both an 8. Calafiori very unlucky not to score when he hit the post. Timber winning the penalty. Obviously having a couple of shots, shooting opportunities as well during Timber. That attacking instinct, we're seeing more and more of it from him. Thought the fullbacks were great. As I said, Zubimendi, just class when he came on, involved in both goals, really pulled the strings for Arsenal. I think he played more line splitting passes than anyone else on the pitch, even though he was only on it for sort of 3/4 of the game. So gave him an 8, Eze 7, Rice an 8, obviously goal. I thought he ran the show at times, Declan Rice, which was great, against his former club, brilliant. I gave the 2 wide men 7s. Trossard I saw coming in for a bit of stick. I didn't think he was great in the first half. Leandro Trossard, he was okay, but I thought in the second half he was actually Arsenal's best attacker down that left-hand side. I thought he was pretty bright. Leandro Trossard, so I gave him a 7. Saka a 7. I gave Gyökeres a 6. There's been a lot of talk after the game about Gyökeres' performance. I didn't think it was a brilliant performance for Victor Gyökeres. I saw an interview. I think Mikel was speaking to Harry Symeou after the game for BBC, and I think he said, I went around and I hugged Victor after the game just to thank him for the work that he's put in and pulling defenders out of the way. And he did do that. His work ethic was absolutely fantastic. And he's been, it's been like that since he's arrived at Arsenal, certainly in the last few games. I don't know. I think and I'm not surprised, but I think he's probably pretty knackered as well. Victor Gyökeres, this is his 3rd game in 7 days. Just the runs he's having to make. He must be exhausted. I think the fact that he's not having any real sort of, he hasn't got Kai Havertz to rotate with. It's been such a tough start to the season for him with Arsenal. Such a tough introduction to the Premier League because of the injury to Kai Havertz. And I do wonder if he's beginning to tire a little bit. He just felt to me yesterday on his heels a little bit, especially in and around the penalty area when balls are coming in. There was that one chance in the second half when Rice put it across goal. And when you watch him, he just the anticipation, he just stops at the wrong time rather than really making sure he's into that area to be able to get it if the ball does come across like the way he does, like the way it did. I just feel like he's on his heels a little bit at times. I'd like to see him be a bit more on his toes in the penalty area to be able to get to a ball first when it comes in, either in the air or on the ground. And there has been loads of talk about his performance yesterday. I don't think he was terrible, but I don't think it was great. It looked to me like a player who's a little bit tired, and that is absolutely understandable. So I gave him a 6. Substitutes who came on: Martinelli, Ranieri, Marino, and Lewis Skelly. I've already talked about Martin Zubimendi as well, who's the one who obviously came on for the largest amount of time. So those were my player ratings. Right, going to go through a bit of what you guys have had to say before wrapping this one up for today. Elijah says Zubimendi played some brilliant long balls that played a big part in the goals. With Arsenal looking to play faster potentially and break teams down in more ways from open play, he might be much more of a weapon than I think most fans assumed, myself included. I think you're absolutely right, Elijah. I think Martin Zubimendi has shown far more to his game in an attacking sense than I expected when he signed for Arsenal, I have to admit, and I'm very, very happy to see it as well. You then talk about Bukayo Saka and Gyökeres as well in terms of that penalty decision. I've already spoken about that. I don't think it was a case of just giving it to him so he could score in his 200th game. No, I just think that Bukayo Saka has pulled rank there, and Bukayo Saka is a penalty taker. Clearly, it looks like if he's on the pitch, he's going to take his penalties, and it's been the way for the last 2 seasons, and obviously that's the way it is going to remain. Bellu says, hi, Charles. Emirates didn't sound noisy on TV and also empty seats. What's going on? Yeah, the atmosphere wasn't great. There was a disappointing amount of empty seats in the top tier opposite me. Really, really apparent. It did fill up a little bit more as the first half went on, but at sort of kickoff, there was loads of empty seats. I thought the atmosphere wasn't great. I don't think the game helped with that. It was so one-sided. It was like watching a training match. And as much as it's nice to say it should be loud all the time, no matter in the game, when you go to football matches, if the game's not an absolute thriller and you're not right on the edge of your seat and there's not loads of drama happening and jeopardy in a game, it's very hard for it not to start becoming a little bit like a pre-season friendly type match. And that's kind of how it was yesterday. Arsenal was so dominant. There was so little jeopardy on it that I think it was just tough for the crowd to really get involved and invested in that. Look, plenty more here from YouTube saying, Casey Lundy saying, hey, Charles, Gyökeres' form slightly concerns me. He's not scoring in big games. He's quiet and not scoring in the easier games either. For me, Havertz is back when he comes into the start. He comes into the starting lineup, and Gyökeres is on the bench. Certainly a decision for Mikel Arteta to make. But yeah, I haven't seen. I'm certainly expecting Havertz to play an awful lot of football when he does come back, no doubt about it. Catch and Pin says, dominant performance and 3 points collected. Need a goal from Victor. Love his work rate. Joe says, very professional performance. I was so happy when I saw the lineup containing both Eze and Odegaard. It was, of course, too good to be true on Odegaard's injury. I don't think it's just random bad luck anymore. He should go for prayers. Teta says 3 points in the bag. Need as many players back for Fulham. Then it's just time to grind out wins until the next international break. Absolutely. Guna72 said 2 goals, clean sheet, decent performance. Didn't need to get out of second gear. 3 points. Manager got it right again. So happy days. We move on. Couple more here. Rob says, hi, Charles. These are up from the Inside Arsenal Discord, which is available for all Discord Inside Arsenal members on Patreon. Link is down below if you want to become an Inside Arsenal member. It's in the video description. Says, hi, Charles. Another solid win. Our record in 10 games in all comps is 8 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss to an absolutely worldie of a free kick. But there seems to be a section of the fan base who still aren't happy. Think we should be battering teams like West Ham. We are winning games, keeping clean sheets. Isn't that the main point? Personally, I'd rather win 2-0 than 4-2. I'm delighted with the start considering our new players' injuries, and we've played at Old Trafford, Anfield, St James's and at home to City. The toughest start of any of the top teams, and we are top. Very well said. Mark says, my thoughts on the game. For me, Rice was man of the match. I think that was one of his best performances so far this season. Also, I know we didn't see the Odegaard as a partnership for too long, but I felt we looked far better and had better control once Zubimendi ended up coming on. So that's what some of you guys have been saying about Arsenal's victory yesterday against West Ham. And that's it from me this morning. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Put your feet up wherever you are around the world. Get your dressing gown on. It's Sunday. Arsenal are top of the league. Just relax and enjoy it, everyone. Have a good one. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Take it easy. Bye-bye.